Okay, so here is the air hammer, and in here, this right here is part of this housing. This is your actual hammer. So you can see I have that little bit of movement right there. Okay, you can measure it with a micrometer from here to here and put a dial indicator in there as such, and do, that was, I think Joe is the one to put that out, that you can use that to figure out what your play is. And I don't, I've been just taking that and getting as little play as I possibly can, but still have movement. This one actually, I think that's too much. So, well, actually the gun's on, not aired. So I just degassed the gun. It's actually tighter than that. So you don't want to adjust that without air in the gun, because the hammer O-ring gets compressed, so the hammer sticks out a little, or the pin that hits the hammer sticks out a little further when it's under pressure. So that changes your measurement. And then the hammer goes up against the end here in a second. I'm going to pull this out, but basically 5 millimeter, and you start turning that and see it just turns out with the grub screw. That is correct. You want it to go that way. You just screw that out. All right, and I'm going to turn this off and reset. Okay, so dwell valve, which I did a video on. Here's the actual hammer. This is the hammer, and I just slid it, upside down, slid it out from inside there and just brought it out the back. Okay, so basically what you're adjusting is these two things here. So this is actually in here, and you see it's touching the wall of the hammer, and then this goes like this, and that's what it looks like inside the gun. So what you're doing is making this play here and here, so that this is just floating in between the two, so you can see the relationship of what you're trying to do and trying to adjust. This is how you would look at it if you're looking through the side of the gun with that plate off. Here's your shear surface for your trigger. So that's where the pull the trigger, it pulls away, this takes off. This is basically your air hammer. So let me break away one more time. Okay, again, 5 millimeter. You can stick something through here. I don't like doing that necessarily. Because I don't want to mess up the spring, because you can see the spring in there. But what I'll grab, sorry guys, not prepared. So I'm grabbing like a 2 millimeter, 1.5, and I just kind of push that through the spring. That way I'm not really stressing the coils on the spring, but I have something to hold on to in order to remove the grub screw. So I'm going to show you the internals really quick. And see, that wasn't very tight. And I was still able to unscrew it with no gas, or without pressure in the gun. When there's pressure in the gun, this grub screw can turn and this won't. And you want to pay attention to that, because as you're adjusting it and you're just screwing this in and out, you're not adjusting the play. You need this whole assembly, these threads here, to turn to get the adjustment. All right, so you can see there's an O-ring down there. That's part of your sealing that the grub screw goes against. I'll pull that out. And take a pick. I'm going to do this off screen because I can't do it with the camera over the top. I can't see. Then I'm going to carefully pull that O-ring out. And it's in there. It takes a little bit of work, but just take your time. Try not to be an animal with it. You don't want to scratch stuff up. And I mean, it is a booger. So I got it to turn sideways in the hole. Yeah, it's a little booger. Preferably, you would like to use, there, got that little sucker. All right. So from there, everything else just comes out. You have your spring. This has got the latest spring. It's the heavier one. And you knew some of us that had problems when you cocked the gun and you go to air it up and it leaked through the air hammer. It was because of this little O-ring here. And you can see it's not in a groove. So it's literally just going inside here against the edge of this, and air pushes the O-ring against it, and that's what seals it. So when you cock the gun, this O-ring will travel back away from that wall, and the air will go around it and slip out, and that's the air leak that you hear. So with the newer spring, that's not such a big deal because it's got enough force to push that, because that's O-ring, it just floats on there pretty free. But that's where you would have your problems. So taking it apart and relocating it there, I got lucky on that one, fell right in that hole. You take your O-ring, put it in there, and I use the 5mm just to help get that down some, to try to get it down into its home, because that is holding air. So, and yeah, that looks pretty good. It's all the way down inside the hole. Set screw. Set screw in. And then I tighten that. Now you're just crushing that O-ring, so it doesn't like it's not like you're going against a metal to metal. You're actually just compressing that O-ring. So when the gun's under air, that O-ring pushes against the grub screw and kind of binds it all together to where this won't turn easily anyway, so it'll force the whole assembly to go. But either way, I'll take and I'll give it I don't hammer it, I mean, it's taut, but I was hardly putting any force, but I just make sure that you compress that O-ring. That's your biggest thing. But not crush it, compress it. Then you pull that out and make sure you cycle, and it pops all the way out. If it pops all the way out, the O-ring's against the wall, and that means it's going to seal. Okay? All right, I'm going to break away one more time. Another quick hint: when you're putting the hammer back in through the backside and putting it in, make sure that the open slot is facing out this slot here like it was originally, and you might need to pull the trigger to get the hammer shear to clear and to get the hammer to pop in and get into this point to where at least you got that amount of a gap in there. Then you're up against the dwell valve pin on the other side. But you'll have to pull the trigger to pull the shear out of the way to get the hammer in that far. Another quick topic or suggestion is, before you remove this hammer, some guys are using this guy here and measuring the depth of how far that is so that they can get close to the ballpark after they air the gun. I personally don't like turning this under pressure because of the little skinny O-rings around the outside of it that are under pressure. I mean, it does fine, it does turn, but the less you mess with those, the better off. So I try to get this adjusted as best I can before I air the gun and get it in the ballpark. So all I have to do is quarter to half turns, to get myself where I need to be. Yeah, put a little bit of silicone on these O-rings of that air hammer when you put it back in. All right, so there's no air in the gun. I've got my air hammer in. Everything's all in there. I didn't measure anything. I just screwed it in until I felt it kind of getting tight, but I kind of know about where I need to be. So when you have the gun all put together, and remember the part of the video where I showed you the dwell valve and the hammer and how the actual hammer itself plays between the air piston and the dwell valve, and you're adjusting that play. Well, if there's no air in the gun, I can push against the dwell valve. Now that's the spring inside the dwell valve, and see how it's pushing it right back. I can go now the other direction and go against the air hammer. Okay, and that's the relationship you're playing with. Now I just pushed it back that way. See that little bit of movement there? So I am close. I'm in the ballpark of where I want to be, so I'm not going to have to turn it that much when I air it. Okay, it's, I don't know, about a millimeter, maybe half, I don't know, but it's in the ballpark. Okay, I'm going to gas the gun, and I'm going to come back to this spot again and show you the actual adjustment. Okay, gun's aired up. I have a 200 bar. My tank's running low, so, but before we aired it, we had play. Now there's none. There's no play. That's, but I can kind of feel it moving a little bit. So I was really close at the amount of play that you want. So now the gun's all aired, we go in with your 5mm, and I'm going to screw it counterclockwise to give it play. And this is the first time doing it after putting it together. So I'm going to turn the Allen, and I'm going to see the slots move with the Allen. So I'm turning the whole housing. I want this whole housing to rotate, not the grub screw. You want the housing. So jumping Jerry all over the place, but so, oh, look, see, it's all turning nice and taut. I just gave it just that much, right? I have no clue how much that's really going to give me. Oh, it's just moving. I don't know. But yeah, you guys can see that it's just moving. I'm going to break away. I kind of like that. I'm going to measure it, use the dial micrometer, because I haven't done that before. And that was mentioned by either Neil. I think it was Neil. Neil brought that up. So I think it was Neil. I thought it was Joe, but I think it was Neil. But that is just a little bit of play. I'm going to try to measure it off camera because I don't have enough hands. Well, my fingerometer was pretty good there. There is a little bit of play, 0.09 millimeters. So very, very little. I'm going to open that up a little bit. I want to have more play than that because of metal heat, getting hot, getting cold. We get swings in temperatures here, so I want to have room for metal expansion and all that kind of stuff with temperature. So I settled in for a 0.2, and I can feel it and wiggle it. It's very minimal. I wish I could do this differently, but you can do it that way. It's hard to tell with the camera, and I'm holding the camera, and so, but there's little. You hear that click? That's going up against the dwell. There's a little bit of play, but I'll try that, and I'll shoot that after you cycle the guns a couple of times, or cycle the gun and shoot it. I might dry fire it and see if that changed, and I'll be right. All right, well, I dry fired it, and it didn't change any, so all good. And basically, that's how you adjust the air hammer. Yep.